Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Stephen was like many other boys in some ways. He went to school, he had friends, and he played games. But Stephen had a secret that made him different. Inside his room, hidden away in a small, concealed corner of his closet, lay a collection of dresses. These weren't just any dresses. They were beautiful, flowing garments that Stephen admired from afar but never dared to touch, except with the tips of his fingers when no one was watching. Stephen's fascination with these dresses wasn't something he could easily share. He felt it was a part of him that needed to be kept hidden, especially from his family and friends. They expected Stephen to act a certain way, a way that didn't include the admiration of dresses or anything else typically considered feminine. So Stephen did what he thought was necessary. He pretended. He pretended to dislike these things, to scoff at them even when every fiber of his being felt drawn to them. Growing up, Stephen found himself caught in a constant struggle between his genuine interests and the persona he showed to the world. He learned early on to suppress his true feelings, to keep his curiosity about femininity locked away. This wasn't easy for Stephen, as the allure of the dresses and the idea of expressing his femininity were thoughts that never truly left him. They were companions in his solitude, whispering to him during quiet moments, yet he always silenced them, fearing the consequences of those desires coming to light. At school, Stephen was just another face in the crowd. He worked hard to blend in, participating in sports and other activities that were deemed appropriate for boys. He laughed at the right moments, joined in conversations about topics he had no interest in, and did everything he could to ensure no one suspected the turmoil that lay beneath his carefully constructed facade. It was a tiring existence, always being on guard, always fearing that one misstep would reveal his secret. As Stephen grew into his teenage years, his internal conflict did not wane. If anything, it intensified. The dresses in his closet no longer sat untouched. Instead, he would sometimes lock his door, carefully unfold them, and let the fabric run through his fingers, imagining what it would be like to wear them, to express himself in a way that felt true to his innermost feelings. But these moments were fleeting, quickly replaced by a deep-seated fear of being discovered. After these brief encounters, he would hastily fold the dresses back up, return them to their hiding place, and resume his facade. Stephen's friends were none the wiser, believing him to be just like them. They talked about girls, sports, and future plans, none of which Stephen felt truly connected to. He felt like an actor in a play, reciting lines that had been written for him, playing a role that didn't fit. But he dared not step off the stage, for the fear of what might happen if he did was far too great. Even as Stephen continued to grow, moving through his teenage years with a sense of detachment from his true self, his fascination with femininity remained a constant, unspoken aspect of his life. It was a silent longing that he carried with him, a longing to explore a part of himself that he had been taught to hide. But for now, Stephen kept his secret, living a life that was expected of him, while the dresses in his closet remained hidden, just like his desires. One October, as the leaves began to change color and the air turned cooler, something exciting happened. It was Halloween, a time when everyone dressed up in costumes and pretended to be someone else for a night. For Stephen, this Halloween was going to be unlike any other. It all started when one of his friends suggested that he should dress up in a costume that was different from anything he had ever tried before. Stephen's heart raced at the thought. His friend, unaware of Stephen's secret fascination, laughed and said, "You should dress up as a princess. It would be so funny." The idea filled Stephen with a mix of fear and excitement. Part of him wanted to refuse, to pick a costume that was more typical for boys his age, but another part of him, a part that had been hidden for so long, was intrigued by the idea. After much thought, Stephen agreed. He thought, "It's just for one night. It doesn't mean anything." But deep down, he knew it meant more than he was willing to admit. His friend, excited about the idea, offered to help him get ready. She brought over a skirt, a top, and some makeup. Stephen's hands trembled as he touched the fabric of the skirt, so different from his usual clothes. The transformation began. Stephen's friend applied makeup to his face, starting with lipstick and then eyeliner. Stephen looked in the mirror and hardly recognized himself. The reflection showed someone new, someone who looked happy and excited. He put on the skirt and top, and for the first time, Stephen felt a sense of freedom. He twirled around, feeling the skirt swish around his legs, and for a moment, all his worries seemed to disappear. When it was time to go to the Halloween party, Stephen was nervous. What would people say? Would they laugh at him? To his surprise, the reaction was the opposite of what he had feared. People complimented his costume, saying how great he looked. For the first time, Stephen felt a kind of happiness he hadn't known before. He was expressing a part of himself that had always been hidden, and it felt liberating. As the night went on, Stephen forgot he was wearing a costume. He laughed and danced with his friends, feeling lighter than he ever had. But as Halloween night came to an end, a sense of sadness washed over him. He knew that once he took off the costume, he would have to go back to pretending, back to hiding who he really was. The next day, Stephen returned to his routine, the memory of Halloween night tucked away like a precious secret. He thought about how free he had felt, how for just a few hours he had been able to express himself in a way he never had before. But fear of what others would think, fear of rejection, kept him from exploring that part of himself further. As the days turned into months, Stephen often found himself thinking back to that Halloween night. It had opened a door for him, showing him a glimpse of a life where he could be true to himself. Yet he was afraid to walk through that door, afraid of what it might mean for his future. He did his best to lead a conventional life, one that mirrored the expectations set by those around him. He dated, just as his friends did, engaging in relationships with women, always striving to find a connection that felt right, yet never fully able to shake the feeling that something was missing. In his quest to fit in, Stephen adopted behaviors and interests that he believed were expected of him. He noticed how his friends admired strength and masculinity, so he joined a gym and started working out regularly. Over time, his physique changed. Muscles formed where there had been none, and he began to carry himself with a newfound sense of confidence, at least on the outside. People around him started to take notice, praising him for his dedication to fitness and his seemingly alpha demeanor. Stephen played the part well, so well that sometimes he almost convinced himself. He met her, the love of his life, during this period of personal transformation. She was everything he had ever wanted, kind, compassionate, and with a sense of humor that could light up even his darkest days. They connected on a level that Stephen had never experienced before, and it wasn't long before he knew she was the one he wanted to spend his life with. Their wedding was a beautiful affair, filled with joy and celebration. Stephen stood there, a picture of conventional happiness. Yet beneath the surface, his heart ached with the weight of the secret he carried. He loved her deeply, more than he had thought possible, but he also knew he was not being entirely honest about who he was. The fear of losing her if he revealed his true self kept him silent. As they settled into married life, Stephen continued to play the role he thought he was supposed to. He worked hard, provided for his family, and maintained his physical strength, all the while feeling like he was living someone else's life. His wife admired his dedication, often commenting on how safe and protected she felt with him. Stephen took pride in this, yet couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt for the deception it entailed. Every day he woke up and put on the metaphorical mask of masculinity, leaving his true desires and identity locked away. He became adept at dodging questions about his interests, carefully steering conversations away from anything that might reveal the depth of his internal conflict. But no matter how much Stephen tried to suppress his feelings, they remained, bubbling just beneath the surface, waiting for a moment of weakness to emerge. In his heart, he knew he couldn't keep living this way forever. The discrepancy between who he was and who he pretended to be was growing wider with each passing day, and Stephen found himself wondering how much longer he could maintain the facade. Years had passed since Stephen and his wife said "I do." They built a life together filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. But for Stephen, there was always something lingering in the back of his mind. a part of him that he had tried so hard to ignore. One day, when his wife was away on a business trip, Stephen found himself standing in front of her closet. The house was quiet, too quiet, and his curiosity got the better of him. He reached out and slid the closet door open, revealing rows of dresses, skirts, and blouses, all the things he had longed to wear but never dared to. Stephen's heart raced as he carefully selected a soft floral dress. He held it up against himself, looking in the mirror. The reflection staring back at him sparked a feeling of joy he hadn't felt in a long time. With a deep breath, he decided to try it on. The fabric felt gentle against his skin, and as he zipped up the dress, a sense of rightness washed over him. Next, he ventured into the world of makeup. He found an assortment of lipsticks, eyeshadows, and blushes. Each item was a treasure trove of colors and possibilities. Stephen started with the lipstick, choosing a subtle pink shade. He carefully applied it, marveling at how it transformed his reflection. Then he moved on to the eyeshadow and blush, each brushstroke making him feel more alive, more himself. Stephen spent hours trying on different outfits and experimenting with makeup. He discovered the joy of seeing himself in a way he had always imagined but never experienced. This secret activity became his escape, a way to connect with the part of himself he had suppressed for so long. But secrets have a way of coming to light. One day, his wife came home earlier than expected and noticed something was amiss. Her clothes seemed disturbed, and her makeup wasn't quite where she had left it. Concerned, she asked Stephen if he knew anything about it. Faced with the possibility of losing everything, Stephen felt his world start to crumble. But he knew he couldn't keep hiding. With a trembling voice, he told his wife everything. He spoke of his lifelong fascination with femininity, the joy he felt wearing her clothes and makeup, and the fear of rejection that had kept him silent. Stephen's confession was met with silence at first. He braced himself for anger, disappointment, or even laughter. But none of that came. Instead, his wife took a moment to process what he had shared, then gently took his hand. She told him that she loved him, no matter what. As they talked late into the night, Stephen realized that this was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, but with his wife by his side, he felt ready to face them. After the conversation where Stephen shared his true feelings, his life took a new direction. Stephen's wife, although surprised at first, showed him kindness and support. They decided to explore this part of Stephen's life together, making plans to find clothes and makeup that reflected his femininity. The weekends were their special time for discovery. Stephen has now become Stefania, starting with the ritual of choosing outfits that Stefania felt most herself in. Their first step was to build a wardrobe that reflected Stefania's taste, a mix of elegance and comfort, which led them to plan a day out for shopping. One sunny Saturday morning, they visited a large mall filled with excitement and a bit of nervousness. Stefania's wife held her hand, offering silent support as they walked through the bustling corridors. Their first stop was a clothing store known for its diverse styles and inclusive sizing. Stefania felt a whirlwind of emotions as she browsed through the racks of clothes, touching fabrics, and imagining herself in them. She chose several dresses, skirts, and blouses, each piece bringing her one step closer to outwardly expressing her inner self. The fitting room experience was transformative. With each outfit Stefania tried on, she saw herself more clearly in the mirror. Her wife's encouragement and compliments helped ease her fears, replacing them with a growing confidence. They selected a few favorite outfits, including a floral dress that made Stefania feel particularly beautiful, and some casual yet feminine tops and jeans for everyday wear. Next, they visited a cosmetics store where Stefania was introduced to the world of makeup. A kind salesperson showed her how to apply foundation, blush, and mascara, emphasizing techniques that enhanced her features. Stefania was fascinated by the array of colors and products, feeling a sense of joy and creativity she hadn't known before. They left with a starter kit of makeup essentials, eager to experiment at home. Back at their house, Stefania's wife set up a makeover station in their bathroom. They spent hours trying different makeup looks, laughing at the mistakes and marveling at the successes. Stefania learned the art of applying eyeliner and discovered the perfect shade of lipstick that made her feel radiant. It was a time of bonding, filled with laughter and shared discoveries. Adopting feminine mannerisms and speech patterns was a more gradual process, one that Stefania approached with curiosity and patience. She practiced in front of the mirror, watched tutorials, and took cues from her wife, who was a patient teacher. Over time, Stefania found a comfortable, authentic way of expressing herself, blending her natural personality with the femininity she had longed to express. Perhaps the most intimate transformation was the ritual of shaving and taking bubble baths. Stefania's wife helped her the first time, turning it into a gentle, caring experience. They filled the bathtub with warm water and scented bubbles, and Stefania relaxed into the embrace of the water, feeling a sense of peace and rightness. Afterward, her skin smooth and soft, Stefania wrapped herself in a fluffy towel, feeling a connection to her body that was new and comforting. These rituals, from shopping and makeup to bubble baths, were not just about changing Stefania's appearance. They were acts of love and affirmation from her wife, and steps towards Stefania embracing her true self. One of their first outings as two women was to an amusement park. It was a bright, sunny day, and the park was full of people laughing, screaming on rides, and enjoying themselves. Stefania felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as they walked hand in hand toward the entrance, but any worries she had faded away when she saw the excitement in her wife's eyes, mirroring her own. They rode roller coasters, screamed at the top of their lungs, and laughed until their sides hurt. For Stefania, it was more than just fun. It was a celebration of her freedom to experience joy without hiding. Eating cotton candy and taking silly photos, they were just two people in love, enjoying a day out. Dinners out became another cherished activity. They found a cozy little restaurant that became their favorite. The first time they went, Stefania was nervous about how they might be received, but the warm welcome and the delicious food made it a perfect evening. Sitting across from her wife, sharing stories and dreams over plates of pasta, Stefania felt a profound sense of belonging. These dinners became regular dates, moments where the world seemed to pause, letting them savor their time together. Walking through the city streets, window shopping, and visiting museums were simple pleasures they indulged in. Stefania loved these quiet moments as much as the exciting ones. They were opportunities to explore the world in her new identity, feeling the support of her wife at every step. They held hands, shared ice cream, and talked about everything and nothing, fully embracing the happiness of being together. On weekends, they would sometimes drive to the countryside, enjoying the beauty of nature. They'd have picnics in the fields, lying on a blanket and watching the clouds drift by. Stefania felt a connection to the world around her, a peace that came from living authentically. These moments, away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, were precious, a time for reflection and appreciation of the journey they were on together. Celebrating holidays and special occasions took on new meaning for Stefania and her wife. Whether it was decorating their home for Christmas, carving pumpkins for Halloween, or ringing in the New Year, each celebration was a testament to their life together and the joy they found in each other's company. Even ordinary days were special. Grocery shopping, cooking together, and lazy Sundays spent watching movies were all part of the fabric of their life together. These mundane activities were transformed into moments of connection and love, simply because they were shared. Living as Stefania wasn't without its challenges. There were times when the world didn't understand or accept her, but with her wife by her side, she found the strength to face those challenges. After much discussion, research, and consultation with medical professionals, they decided it was time for Stefania to begin hormone therapy. This step was not just about Stefania's personal transformation. It was a journey they committed to facing together, hand in hand. The day Stefania received her first hormone therapy treatment was filled with a mix of emotions. There was excitement for the changes it would bring and a bit of nervousness about the unknown. Her wife was there, offering a comforting smile and a reassuring squeeze of the hand, reminding Stefania that she wasn't alone. As weeks turned into months, Stefania and her wife witnessed the gradual changes brought on by the hormone therapy. Stefania's skin became softer, her body started to reflect her true self more closely, and even her emotions seemed to deepen, adding layers to her experience of the world. They celebrated each small change together, marking them as milestones on Stefania's journey. During this time, they also began preparing for the next significant step, gender confirmation surgery. Together, they attended appointments, filled out forms, and had long conversations late into the night about hopes and fears, always coming back to the strength of their bond and the love they shared. The day of the surgery arrived, a day that felt like both an ending and a beginning. Stefania's wife was by her side every moment, from the early morning check-in at the hospital to the waiting room during the surgery. The hours felt long, but the thought of finally being able to fully embrace her true self gave Stefania courage. When Stefania awoke from the surgery, the first thing she saw was her wife's smiling face. "Welcome back," her wife whispered, and in that moment, Stefania knew everything was going to be okay. The recovery was not easy, with days filled with discomfort and the challenge of adjusting to her new body. But Stefania's wife was her constant support, helping her through the pain, cheering her on through every step of physical therapy, and celebrating every milestone in her recovery. Living as Stefania after the surgery was like opening a book to a page she had always dreamed of reading. She and her wife explored the world with new eyes. Only now, there was no fear, no holding back. Stefania was free to be herself, completely and unapologetically. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.